Yo, yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Fro. And today I'm going to be talking about the brand new Netflix miniseries, Adolescence, starring and written by Stephen Graham and directed by Philip Barantini. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Now, this is a team that I am a big fan of, having seen previously their work Boiling Point, which revolved around the culinary side of how crazy things can be with chefs and how they're working with food. Now, the camera work for this mini series, I feel, is going to divide a lot of people with the pacing and how the camera likes to take its time while we're watching our characters go through some pretty unsettling situations or revelations, if you will. Now, this review is coming from somebody who really enjoyed Boiling Point quite a bit. I actually thought it was one of my favorite films of that year. And Stephen Graham, I think, is starting to become one of my very favorite actors in the past 15 plus years or so. He has been working for quite a while, but I feel like the choices that he's been making recently in the past couple years are fantastic. And I do think he's a very versatile actor. He can be he can be funny, threatening, heartwarming. And in this show, I got to see a side of him that was rather heartbreaking, to see him play this father who feels like his back is against the wall and he can't do much for his son that's accused of a rather brutal murder. And he has to sit by his son while trying to figure out if he's telling the truth or not. And we see him slowly start to spiral and lose his mind, having to deal with all this pressure. Now, Stephen, this might be my favorite Stephen Graham performance, and I think that's saying something. So the overall plot is about a 13-year-old named Jamie who gets accused of killing his classmate, Katie. And for the most part, we're following the family's point of view and their perspective, and the pressure that they have to deal with this murder case. And a couple months do pass by. We do see Jamie get a bit older. He goes from being a bit shut in and quiet to actually being more brash and in your face and more insult hurling. We can tell that he's really hurt from inside, but he becomes quite frightening, especially when a forensic psychologist pops up on the scene for one of the episodes out of the four. I believe it was the third episode, where she pops up and we're having this very uncomfortable discussion as she's trying to get underneath Jamie's, I wouldn't say get underneath his skin, but she's trying to figure out how his brain is operating. And there's a couple moments where Jamie flips out and points his finger in her face, and it's making me, the audience, think, did this kid really do it? Because he's able to turn this very violent switch on almost out of nowhere. Now, we also follow a pair of two detectives, D.I. Luke, played by Ashley Walters, who I think does another great job here, and his partner, Misha, D.S. Misha. Now, Luke's son is also at the same school that Jamie attends, and we do see that there's a little bit of similarities where D.I. Luke's son is very shut in and quiet as well. We can tell that he's being bullied. Going back to Jamie and Katie, we come to find out that there was some sort of relationship going on, nothing romantic, because Katie always looked at Jamie as quite ugly. Now, Katie one day sends a picture of her topless to the boy that she either likes or she's going out with. And of course, he spreads it around the school. And from Jamie's words, he says in a moment of weakness, he asks out Katie, and Katie says something along the lines of, I would rather be dead than go out with you. Not verbatim, but something like that. And from what I understand, that's what makes Jamie snap. And by the end of the miniseries, it's not explicitly said, but come to find out that he did murder Katie, because he does slip up with the forensic psychologist when he says, that's what I did. And then he flips out like, oh, no, you just made me kind of admit it. Like, why are you getting in my head? So I am leaving the miniseries thinking that, yeah, Jamie did kill Katie. And at first I was thinking it was one of the best friends, because one of them keeps running away from D.I. Luke. And from what I remember, Jamie was able to get the knife from that friend that kept running away. And we do end the miniseries in a really depressing and really messed up way where Stephen Graham's Eddie goes into Jamie's room. He's reminiscing. A couple months, or I believe even a year or so, has passed by. And Stephen Graham breaks down. He just completely shatters into pieces. He's holding on to Jamie's teddy bear and he's losing it. And again, I do think this is Stephen Graham's shining moment. I think he's never been better. Now, I am aware that Stephen Graham has said this miniseries at the heart of it is about the family and how they're dealing with the murder case. But I would have liked to see a little bit more so of the two detectives, especially D.I. Luke, and how his relationship with his son. I would have liked to see that explored a bit more because I did like the character. But wrapping it up, I do think Adolescence is a fantastic watch. It's very unsettling, definitely a mature subject matter. And I can understand if it's not for everybody due to the pacing and how the continuous one take style that we're going through with each episode out of the 4. I can see some people getting lost with the viewing, but just from my personal viewing, I thought this was excellent all around the board. 11 out of 10 acting, some very raw and very unfiltered work going on as far as the performances go. There is one scene that really stood out to me early on in the miniseries, and that's when Stephen Graham were focusing on his facial expression while his son is getting fingerprinted and booked in the station and eventually strip searched by the cops. And Stephen Graham is the character Eddie is doing every bit he can to say, no, you can't search my son like this. It's very messed up and uncomfortable, but due to the laws and the regulations and how they have to do it, Stephen Graham is the character Eddie is forced to stand by and watch the cops search his son thoroughly. And Stephen Graham's acting here is magnificent. On my first watch, I'm going to have to give Adolescence about a light 9 out of 10. I do feel like I wanted a little bit more with the resolution at the end of the miniseries, but at the end of the day, I do think it was handled in a very raw and realistic way. And that's it, y'all. That's my thoughts and my review on Adolescence. Give it a watch when you can. Again, not an easy one to sit through, but I still think an overall fantastic experience for me, and I can't wait to see more work from Stephen Graham and Philip Barantini and this overall team. I think they work very well together. The chemistry is shown not only in front of the screen, but it's felt behind the screen as well. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I'm on to the next review.